Medicine Hat is a community rich with supports for people with disabilities. One such organization is REDI Enterprises. REDI is a 70-year-old not-for-profit organization that operates across southeastern Alberta. REDI stands for Rehabilitation and Employment for Developing Independence. It was founded right here in Medicine Hat in 1952 as a local movement focused on acceptance and integration. In its original form, REDI's goal was to provide employment opportunities to people with disabilities. It did so through a workshop where employees could earn a wage while manufacturing everything from ceramic cups to silk ribbons and even work in REDI's iconic bottle depot. Its founders were Ada Williams and Beth Clark, two women that had been affected by polio and knew that people with disabilities deserved the same opportunities as everyone else. REDI invited us to tour their office, learn about their history, and meet some of their clients. Their office, where the interviews in this episode are conducted, is the same building that their original warehouse and bottle depot were located.
Welcome to REDI Enterprises. Come on in, let's see how things have changed over the years. I'm Robin Keenan, she, her. I've been here over my two careers for just shy of 12 years now. I love REDI. I love where we come from. I love where we are today. I love where we're going. I love how we are so resilient and we can rumble through everything and come out in a really great place. Ada Williams and Beth Clark came out with the idea for REDI. And the reason that they started it was because one of them was impacted by polio and the other one's husband had lost a limb. So they were like, there's this need for services for people with disabilities in the community, especially following the polio epidemic. So they put out this 8-word ad in the newspaper, self-help opportunity of the handicapped, please help. Simple little phrase, right? Now this is a time when women being powerful was very much not popular, and individuals with disabilities, this wasn't a time when that was popular for them to be empowered either. We're talking about a time of eugenics. This is a disgusting time in history, especially for the people that we serve. So they go through and they put out this ad and it starts to take off. They started in the Empress Theatre building downtown. So the Empress Theatre building is where City Hall used to be. Great piece of land. What a wonderful place that would be. But the neat thing about it is that the reason that the initial idea for it was that people would be seen as things of value, that people wouldn't be seen as just a thing to be tucked on the shelf. They would be front and center and visible to the community. So it started with 12 individuals, and everyone was trained fully in the services or the crafts that they were selling. And without the support of the community, it would have been nothing. Now, lots of these types of workshops had been popping up across the country, but something that was really different about REDI was that REDI wasn't funded. So there was no provincial funding for it. The entire piece was based on the value of the products and services that these people were providing. So truly entrepreneurs. So from these 12 individuals in the beginning, we've grown to be a $15 million nonprofit, and we service the entire southern region of the province. So all the way to the Crow, all the way to the borders, and it's just flourished through this. So in 1972, money started to become available, and as money starts to become available, we got to build these programs. So as we're building these programs, we started to be able to do things like life skills and employment skills and home skills and all kinds of things to help support people to start to think about their dreams. Because at this point, dreams aren't really something that's in the forefront of thought in this community, right? So now we're talking about dreams. If you could do anything, what would you do? If you could be or have anything, what would you have? What would you experience in your life? And we start to build on this piece, right? So the dream piece is also a theme here because Ruth Sissons, who at that time was involved with REDI, Ruth Sissons actually broke ground on this building. So she broke ground on this building in the area that is our workshop now, and I'll show you that later, or was our workshop, I should say. And when she broke ground on it, she had only raised $35,000 of the $200,000 she needed for the building. And she's like, we're going to do it anyway because the community is here. Now, there was a lot of things that came out. There was a lot of roadblocks in the way, right? But there was a lot of really incredible community partners that came along that way. And as I was going through the journal and looking at all of the places that had contributed, something that was really amazing to find was that all the service clubs in Medicine Hat came together as a part of this project. Talk about community, right? All the small businesses that contributed, like little hair salons and things like that, right? That contributed to make this place happen. So without that community, supporting the community that we serve, this wouldn't be here. It just makes me feel good to be a part of.
In 1977, REDI services were in such high demand that with Ruth Sissons at the helm of the project, they broke ground on the building we are in today. At the time of its conception, the building would act as REDI's new warehouse, bottle depot, and offices. While the warehouse eventually closed and the bottle depot relocated, the building has stayed as REDI's base of operations and offices to this day.
When we relocated to this building here, we had the opportunity to upscale the workshop. And instead of having these small group of individuals working, we were able to start to expand and do different things. So we started to make really, really cool things like ribbons. I love, love, love to touch history. So it's really amazing to think that the individuals that we serve, in fact, one of the ladies that I work with currently used to make these. So it's neat to think that she created these and that I get a chance to be a part of that now. And if you ran cross country or a part of school sports, chances are they came from the workshop here at REDI Enterprises. Just like pom-poms, the original fidget tool. We had to make these for a float last year. They're so time consuming. But what a neat thing. Each one hand-tied. Each one hand-tied by somebody that we serve here. Core sample bags for the oil field. Like, how cute are these? We could use these for so many things today. So they made these by the tens of thousands. It was a full process. So we had this huge space in the back. I'll walk you through it after, but this huge space in the back. So there'd be sergers and sewing machines lined up. There'd be the jigs to make the pom-poms. We had button pressing machines. People would hand press those metal buttons, like the one that's on your shirt now. We would hand press metal buttons. Do things like this. We had ceramics. We had a full ceramics division that did, so these like little honey pots. How cute are these? We did coffee mugs, Canada coffee mugs. Back here is where our wood shop would be, okay? Now this is where the maintenance guy lives. So, we keep our storage behind here now, but this whole space would be where like the coffee cups were made, all the woodworking things were done. So anything really handcrafted that was labor intensive would come through here. We still have the same paint booth that we used to. Knock, knock. Come on in. So we still have the same paint booth over in this way. I know it's not exciting, but I think it's kind of cool, right? So one thing that I really love out here is that we don't miss it. Like, this is where we come from. We didn't have to change it. It still functions. It still works fine, right? Wood storage over here, spray spot over here. Like, it's just neat. So then we'll head out this way. So this part was always run in here for shop, but now we have it as a fully functioning garage. So, and a lot of storage. But how cool is this bike? Check this out. So power assist, so fully accessible for everybody. Lives here, but in the summer it goes to the park. Room to strap in with a seat belt, footrest for people so that nobody gets injured. Super cool, right? Fully power assist, everybody gets a chance to play. Our new truck is getting ready for the bottle depot with our new colors, pretty cool. And then we talk about making the pom-poms. Okay. So here's the roll of plastic that they used to use. So these are these great big rolls that would be on spindles, and they would have to pull out and run around a jig and hand tie each of them. But super cool, super cool. It was amazing the things that came out of here. I was at a trade show three years ago, and this gentleman came up to me and he says, "You know what? I know REDI." He says, they used to do lots of custom things. And I said, okay, well, what kind of custom things? And he sent me this picture afterwards, and it was a case for his filming equipment, and it held his cameras, and then it turned it all into a stool so that it could be stood on. And he says, I would custom order them from REDI, and we had them for everybody. And he still uses it today.
That's amazing.
So just all these things that came out, it turned into be this huge operation. Now, people didn't get paid minimum wage like they did now. So this was like a stepping stone to where we are today. So in the middle, it was a stipend. So a small amount of money that was given per week for people to have a little bit of cash in their pockets while we were learning all of these things. So lots of work skills come out of this, right? Hand-eye coordination, repetitive motion, all of these types of things come into this, right? Attention to detail.
And socialization of being in a workplace.
Oh, for sure. So the other part of it is we had this great lunchroom. So in the lunchroom then, there would be staff and individuals that were being supported here cooking. So they would cook, so there was an opportunity for a hot lunch program. You could buy lunch here, baking. So all of these employment skills were happening, all these life skills were happening in the building. And then everybody got together, the bell would ring, it was lunchtime, the bell would ring, it was coffee time, and everybody got together to do that. From that point anyway, the people that work here became their family. They became their support systems, their friends, they celebrated their birthdays and holidays and things that a lot of people hadn't had before. Something we really take for granted is having a family to sit down for dinner with. I want to talk about the depot for a little bit. So there's this really cool thing happened with the depot. So this building actually used to house the depot, and it's what our training room is now. I can't imagine what the spell would have been like in here, having the workshop and then the training room and or the depot in the back, and like all these things happen, and baking in the kitchen. Like the olfactory impact is huge. So this used to be the depot. So imagine each of these being the wickets, right? People would pull up here, drop off their stuff, and this would be lined full of bottles everywhere, right? It's crazy. Like I said earlier, can you imagine the smell? All the depot smells, and all the baking smells, and the hot pressing. So the hot pressing used to happen in the room, and that's now our boardroom in here. So they used to, that's where they would stamp the ribbons and things like that with the embossing. All right, and then we'll head up this way. Then the depots get some money, and the depot is able to move. So the depot is where it is now on South Railway. Let's go with South Railway. It's just over here anyway. And that started this huge revolution. So it was the first bottle depot in southern Alberta. And now it is in the top 16 of 218 for volume. We process 20 million containers a year out of that bottle depot. So when you come into the depot, it's this great big open building, and you'd expect it to be incredibly noisy, which it's fairly noisy. However, on the right-hand side is our confidential shred, so that's kind of a quiet area off to the side. We have our donation booth where you can donate bottles to other local nonprofits. So as you head to your wicket, the individuals behind the counter have this really cool computer system. So they can tabulate everything, and they give you a ticket, they call it a chit, that you can put into a bank machine afterwards and get your money back. So it doesn't need to go through the full waiting in line to return your bottles and then waiting in line to get your money back. You can do that all in one step. So once the bottles come in, they get dropped onto a conveyor belt. Now this conveyor belt is fantastic. So what it did was it stopped it from being a really heavily manual labor type job. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of physical work that happens there. But instead of having to load up small bins and then dump them into bigger bins and then dump them into bigger bins, now all the bottles and cans go onto a conveyor belt that gets dropped through the counter. So as they drop the bottles through, they sneak off and go over and through this spinning machine, which is kind of neat. It's kind of neat how it all separates it as it goes through. And then as it comes down the final line there's this tiny calibrated puff of air, which will shoot the cans into the can bag and the bottles into the bottle bag and all of those types of things. And it'll measure sizes. So the right thing gets this tiny puff of air, goes into the right bag. So the importance of this piece is that when we sell those raw goods, if our bags are off, if our count is off, then we get fined. So this system makes it so that our counts are better, the individuals that work there have a less physical job, and in the end, everybody is happier and healthier at work, and then the company makes more money. Something really incredible about it is when they put in this new system, lots of places, once they go automated, it starts to reduce the amount of people that work there. However, when REDI put in this automated system, we didn't reduce the amount of people that work there. Our old staffing model stayed the same. So the team is still intact, they have an easier job, and well, we have this really cool piece of technology that helps support our team passively throughout their workday. Every nonprofit gets a for-profit division, and ours is called Ventures. So Ventures has, we have the shredding, confidential shred, so we have our shredding division, we have our depot, we have some community recycling programs. And then what happens with there is you're not allowed to get money from the collecting, so we can't do a bottle drive or anything, right? We get the monies from selling our raw goods to ABCRC. So we started doing passive bottle drives though. So how can we still support our community at large with this business? So instead of having people lined up around the corner, because it was really popular, like this is the first one, who doesn't want to be a part of this, right? So people would be lined up down the street. So we started the thing called What Are You Waiting For? And this What Are You Waiting For campaign is a passive bottle drive. So every month another local nonprofit gets the benefit of it. So people donate in our bins around town or at the depot. And sometimes this is $3,000 of community donations a month. We do food programming, we support adaptive sport, we support all types of community projects that support individuals with disabilities and youth. It's just neat to see that not only are we acknowledging this community that we're supporting, but acknowledging that there's a larger community as a whole that we can support too. And it's mutually beneficial because then we take those goods, we still sell them to ABCRC, and that helps make up the difference between what we're funded for provincially and the reality of services. It lets us do things a little differently. Something that's different even to this day, that what we do with our volunteerism is we don't volunteer for anything somebody else gets paid for. So in our industry, it is common for things like work experiences, quote unquote internships. However, we don't do that. If someone is paid to do a job, then our individuals should be paid to do a job because we bring skilled individuals to the table. Years ago, during one of the seasons at the Stampede, they'd hired someone to work doing the same role between 9 and midnight because our crew was done at 9. And at the end of the season, we're like, sorry, we're not going to be able to be here anymore. It's been great. Now, keep in mind, we have hundreds of hours that we volunteered with the Stampede. So roll forward and the general manager calls and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I said, actually, this falls under exploitation now. So my work partner and I went up and had a conversation, explained the whole thing. And now everybody that works there, everybody is part of this committee that used to volunteer gets paid. And they stepped up right away and they said, you know what? You're right. And it changed. It just changed, just like that. So last year, 8 individuals from REDI received their first paycheck. However, from the other organizations that we work with through that committee as well, but the total came to almost 20 first paychecks. So now people are working for all great local companies, right? They're doing really meaningful workplace opportunities. That today currently we have about 47 employers that we work with and 27 volunteer placements that we work with. It's huge. And when you think about it, like what is one of the first things that people ask you? Oh, what do you do for a living? Right? It's a huge piece of people's identity.
It is, and I think there's a lot of assumption that people with disabilities, especially visible disabilities, don't work. So I think sometimes people won't even ask those questions. But being able to ask those questions and getting an answer is such a place of pride for people to be able to say like, oh, I do this and I love it. And like, that's amazing. Absolutely, and that's the theme of REDI since day one, right? Everyone has value. Our motto now, we just started our new campaign, which is everyone can, right? And it's true, everyone can participate, everyone can work, everyone can play, everybody can be a part of something more, right? Everyone can be a part of Medicine Hat. I think it's a thing that more and more people are understanding, right? That there's value in so much. I look at our other teams. So we have these incredible teams now. So for this 12 people in the start, now we have, we have our REDI Works division, REDI Lives division with our group homes and home supports. We have our REDI Connects division, which is community outreach. We have an FASD program that runs here. We have brain injury relearning services. We have our for-profit division. We have ventures. So there's all these different things that came out of this small beginning. Thank goodness for these incredible people that stood up at a time that it wasn't popular, right?
to scream it from the rooftops and make this happen, for all of this to move forward. I mean, we have over 250 employees. We are a massive, massive nonprofit now. We support about 280 individuals with disabilities. And that's in our core programming. Plus we have about 105 individuals, I believe, that are through our brain injury relearning services. And it's incredible. It's just incredible to see how that's all exploded, right? Everyone gets to be here, right? I walk in and I am accepted for who and what I am. Whether it shines on the outside or whether it's hidden on the inside, we all have a thing. And the beauty about inclusion is that inclusion means that wherever I go, I get to be who I am. And that's not just for individuals with disabilities or individuals that are affected by X, Y, or Z. That has nothing to do with any of that. What it means is that everywhere I go, I get to be me. And I think that that's a really cool culture that we've created here, because you can show up to work and be who you are. I'm an anxious human. Yay! I channel that energy into doing cool things. And it lets me connect with the individuals that I serve as well, because I have served individuals that also have anxieties. It's just a beautiful piece that comes together.